Hi, I'm Mark Donegan, hosting the Marketing Execution Podcast. Founders think thought leadership takes hours. The truth? A specific AI sequence cuts that to minutes. Today, we solve the struggle of producing consistent content efficiently. I've built B2B content engines for years, and speed wins. Now, here is the conversation Tim and I recorded on building your AI Copilot.
Listen up, it's marketing time. Bright ideas sparking, blowing your mind. From strategies to big exec dreams, catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Welcome to the Marketing Execution Podcast. This is the show for tech founders and leaders building B2B products and technologies. We show you how to go further, faster to get the business results you need.
From strategies to big exec dreams, catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Mark, I've been thinking about something that's been bugging me for a while now. You know how everyone's talking about AI writing tools, and there's this whole debate about whether they're going to replace writers or not?
Oh yeah, that conversation never ends. What's got you thinking about it today?
Well, I came across this concept called the Second Brain Copilot approach, and it completely flipped my perspective on how founders should actually be using AI for their content.
Okay, now you've got my attention, because honestly, most founders I talk to are using AI completely wrong. They're either avoiding it entirely or they're just dumping prompts in and hoping for magic.
Yes, that's exactly the problem. So here's what I found fascinating. The whole framework is built around this idea that AI shouldn't write for you, it should write with you.
See, and that distinction is everything. Because here's what I've noticed. When founders try to outsource their thinking to AI, the content comes out sounding like everyone else's content. Generic, forgettable.
Totally forgettable. Like, you could swap out the company name and it would fit anywhere.
Exactly. And that's the death of thought leadership, right? The whole point is to have thoughts that lead people somewhere new.
So walk me through this. What's the actual framework here? Because I think a lot of our listeners on the Marketing Execution Podcast are probably making these mistakes right now.
Okay, so there are really three critical pieces to this approach. And the first one is, honestly, it's the one most people skip entirely. You need to give AI context about your role and your audience before you do anything else.
Wait, that sounds so basic, though. Isn't everyone doing that?
You'd think, but no. Most people just say, write me an article about whatever topic, and then they're shocked when it sounds generic.
So what does good context actually look like?
Well, you're basically setting the stage. You tell the AI who you are, what role you're playing, who you're writing for, and what the piece is about. Like, I once heard of a founder who was writing about product-led growth, and she started every AI session by saying, I'm a SaaS founder writing for other early-stage founders who are trying to reduce their customer acquisition costs.
Oh, that's so much more specific than just write about product-led growth.
Right? The AI can only work with what you give it.
Okay, so that's piece one. What's the second critical element?
This is the one that blew my mind when I first learned it. You need to train the AI on your voice, your actual writing style.
Wait, you can do that?
Yes, and it's so simple that it's almost embarrassing. You literally just paste in a sample of something you've written before and tell the AI to analyze it and match that style going forward.
So the AI becomes like a writing partner who knows how you think?
That's a great way to put it, because here's what happens otherwise. The AI defaults to this very formal kind of corporate tone. You know what I'm talking about. It sounds like a press release had a baby with a Wikipedia article.
Oh God, I've read so many of those.
We all have. And the founders who publish that stuff, they're actually hurting their brand because people can tell. There's this uncanny valley effect where readers sense something's off, even if they can't articulate it.
So by feeding it your own writing first, you're basically giving it your fingerprint.
Exactly. Your unique perspective, your sentence rhythms, your personality, all of that gets preserved.
All right, what's the third piece?
This one's about workflow, and it's counterintuitive. You don't write the introduction first.
Wait, what? But that's how everyone writes.
That's how everyone struggles to write. Think about it. The introduction is the hardest part because you're trying to hook someone into something you haven't fully figured out yet.
Huh, I never thought about it that way.
So the framework says, write section by section, skip the intro, and come back to it at the end. By then, you actually know what you're introducing.
Honestly, that's brilliant. And it probably saves so much time from staring at a blank page.
There was this one founder I heard about who cut her writing time by like 60% just by flipping the order. She said the intros practically wrote themselves once she knew where the piece was going.
And I'm guessing there's a specific formula for the intro too?
Oh yeah, it's really structured. You start with a rhetorical question that states the problem. Then you paint a specific scenario, like, you know what I'm talking about, that moment when you're staring at a blank dock at 11 p.m.
Making it relatable.
Right. Then you amplify the problem, show what happens if they don't solve it. And then you introduce the solution with something like, what if there was a better way?
So you're basically taking them on an emotional journey before you even get to the meat of the article.
That's exactly right. And that's what separates thought leadership from just content.
Mark, that's fascinating. But what does this mean for a founder who's trying to scale their content, but only has maybe 2 hours a week to dedicate to writing?
Yeah, and that's the real question, isn't it? Because here's the thing most people miss. This isn't about finding more time. It's about using the time you have completely differently.
What do you mean by that?
So think about what most founders do when they sit down to write. They open a blank document, they stare at it, they write a sentence, delete it, write another one, check their email, come back, start over.
I feel personally attacked right now.
We've all been there, but here's what's wild. That founder isn't spending 2 hours writing. They're spending maybe 30 minutes writing and 90 minutes fighting with themselves.
So the real bottleneck isn't the writing itself.
It's the thinking. And this is where the whole Copilot approach changes everything. Because when you front load all that context, when you train the AI on your voice, you're basically removing the friction that eats up most of your time.
So instead of staring at a blank page, you're actually having a conversation with a tool that already knows what you're trying to say.
That's it. And here's the part that really matters for busy founders. The AI handles the structure, you handle the substance.
Okay, break that down for me.
So the structure is all the stuff that slows you down. How do I organize this? What comes first? How do I transition between ideas? That's mechanical work. The AI can do that in seconds.
Right.
But the substance? Your unique take on why product-led growth fails for most B2B companies? Your story about that customer who churned because you ignored their feedback? That has to come from you.
So you're not outsourcing your expertise, you're just outsourcing the grunt work.
Exactly. And this is why it matters so much for founders specifically. Because your time is insanely valuable. Every hour you spend wrestling with sentence structure is an hour you're not spending on product or customers or hiring.
But here's what I'm wondering. If everyone starts using these same frameworks, doesn't everything start sounding the same anyway?
Oh, that's such a good question. And the answer is no, but only if you do it right.
How so?
Because the framework is just scaffolding. It's not the building. I know of a founder who uses this exact approach, and her content sounds nothing like anyone else's because she feeds in her weird analogies, her specific customer stories, her hot takes.
So the framework gives you speed, but your inputs give you differentiation.
Yes, and here's the deeper point. The founders who win at content aren't the ones who write the most. They're the ones who have the clearest point of view. This approach actually forces you to clarify your thinking before you write.
Because you have to give the AI all that context up front.
Right. You can't be vague. You have to know who you're writing for and what you actually believe. And that clarity, it shows up in every sentence.
So in a weird way, using AI actually makes your writing more human.
I know it sounds backwards, but yeah, because you're spending your limited time on the parts that require human judgment, the insights, the opinions, the stories that only you can tell.
And the AI handles the rest.
The formatting, the transitions, the polish, all the stuff that's important but doesn't require your genius.
You know what's interesting? We've talked a lot about the theory here, about why this matters and how it changes the game. But I'm betting our listeners are sitting there thinking, okay, great, but what do I actually do on Monday morning? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of how to actually implement this thing.
Okay, so there's basically 3 steps, and I'm going to keep this stupid simple because that's the only way it works.
I'm ready.
Step 1, you got to build your context library before you ever ask the AI to write anything.
What goes in this library?
3 things: your audience definition, your voice samples, and your hot takes.
Wait, voice samples?
Yeah, take 2 or 3 articles you've written that sound like you. Paste them into the chat. Tell the AI to analyze your style and match it going forward.
Oh, that's smart. So it learns your patterns.
Your sentence length, your weird phrases, how you start paragraphs, all of it. I saw a SaaS founder do this with Notion. She had a doc with 5 of her LinkedIn posts. Every time she started a new chat, she'd paste those in first.
And the output actually sounded like her?
Night and day difference. Before, everything came out generic. After, her team couldn't tell what she wrote versus what the AI drafted.
Okay, so that's step 1. Build the context library. What's step 2?
Step 2 is the outline handoff, and this is where most people mess up.
How so?
They give the AI a topic and say, write me an article. That's like telling a chef to make dinner without saying what meal or who's eating.
Here's some ingredients. Good luck.
Exactly. Instead, you write a quick outline yourself. 5 bullet points, main argument, supporting points, 1 story you want to include. Takes maybe 10 minutes.
So you're doing the strategic thinking.
Right. Then you hand that to the AI and say, expand each section to 150 words. Keep my voice, follow this structure.
And it fills in the gaps.
The mechanical gaps, the transitions, the formatting, but your ideas stay at the center.
I love that. What's step 3?
Step 3 is the edit loop, and this is non-negotiable.
Tell me more.
You never publish a first draft, ever. You read it out loud. You find the sentences that sound robotic, and you either rewrite them yourself or you tell the AI specifically what to fix.
Like what?
Like, this paragraph sounds too formal, make it conversational. Or add a specific example here about customer onboarding. The more specific your feedback, the better the revision.
So it's iterative.
Always. I know a B2B hardware startup that uses this exact flow. Their CEO went from publishing 1 article a quarter to 1 article a week. Same quality, actually better quality because he had more reps.
That's wild.
And here's the thing people forget. The first few times feel clunky. You're building muscle memory. By article 5 or 6, the whole process takes maybe 45 minutes.
Compared to what? 3 or 4 hours before?
At least. And the mental energy is completely different. You're not exhausted after. You're energized because you spent your time on ideas, not formatting.
This reminds me of how Loom grew their content operation. They didn't hire 10 writers. They built systems that let their existing team produce way more.
Same principle. Systems beat effort every single time.
Mark, we've covered so much ground today. Can you pull it all together for us? Give our listeners the big picture summary of everything we've discussed.
All right, let me bring this all together. We started with a fundamental shift in how founders should think about AI. It's not a replacement for your thinking. It's a partner that amplifies your thinking. The Second Brain Copilot approach has 3 core pieces. First,
You set the stage with context about your role and your audience. Second, you train the AI on your actual voice by feeding it samples of your writing. Third, you flip the workflow and write sections first, then come back to the intro last. From there, we talked about implementation. Build your context library with audience definitions, voice samples, and your hot takes. Use the outline handoff so you stay in control of the strategy. And always run the edit loop because you never publish a first draft. The whole point is this: your time is too valuable to spend on formatting and transitions. Spend it on the insights and stories that only you can share.
Mark, after everything we've covered today, what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from this conversation?
Here it is. The founders who win at content aren't the best writers. They're the clearest thinkers. AI doesn't make you a better thinker, but it does remove every excuse for not sharing your thinking with the world. So stop hiding behind "I don't have time." You have the tools now. The only question is whether you have something worth saying.
The Marketing Execution Podcast is produced by Growth Stage Marketing. We are on a mission to see your company reach wild success using marketing pods.
Too big, accept dreams. Catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Thank you for listening and being a part of the marketing execution movement and community. To learn how growth stage marketing clients reach more buyers and drive business impact, go to growthstage.marketing. That's growthstage.marketing.